Today's event was all around digital growth as we head into 2020. E-commerce is tipped to grow by over 40% in the next 2 years to almost 5 trillion globally. For the companies that want to harness that, customer experience becomes incredibly vital.
When it's about matching marketing messages to brains, this ultimately is a little bit like the shoe shop analogy, is not very ideal because you can put out a great message, but if it doesn't cognitively resonate with your audience, you will get much less purchases, much more changes on a cognitive side out of that.
So I'd say the main starting point for organisations from a CX and testing point of view is firstly looking at the data to try and find opportunities, layering on some more attitudinal behavioural research. And then after that, you're going to have a big old list of test ideas. At that point, prioritisation is key. And then finally, process. So you can have the best idea in the world, but if you have a bad process, you're not going to get the test out of the door at the quality you want, or it's going to go out potentially with issues in it.
I spoke about how we at the Telegraph are creating an audience-first strategy. We've really been building this digital subscription strategy from scratch. So the biggest achievement is the fact we're probably a couple of weeks away from reaching a full year target. And in that time, we've managed to increase the customer conversion rate, which is UV to subscription, from 0.03 to around about 0.23, which is indicative of the success we've had.
What's interesting with CX is it's this piece that I think a lot of people frequently think about it being just on the site and what's happening to someone when they land on the site, what they're seeing in terms of content and personalisation of content. So for me, CX is actually about much more, and CX is about ensuring that you're grabbing the right audience in the first place.
We use different digital data points to understand the customer, and one data point doesn't necessarily sit in one bucket. So what do? We use it to try and understand how the customer's feeling, what the customer's needing, what the customer's doing, and what the customer's thinking.
I wish I started coming to these kind of events earlier. It's a great way of finding out what's going on in different areas around the industry, and then you can kind of relate to what's going to be working in your industry and how you can put in best practice.
Really interesting presentations, and it's good to hear from House of Kaizen as to what they're really doing now as well, and actually seeing some of the content of what they're working on right now with the Wall Street Journal, for example, and some of the thinking behind it was really interesting.